Imagine a scene. You're at a family dinner. Someone at the table says, diversified portfolio. Your cousin is complaining about the compound interest on his student loan, and you nod along, as if you understand everything. But the thought in your head is this: what was compound interest again? Is it a financial concept, or some germ you catch from dirty gym equipment? If that scene feels familiar, good, because the problem is not you. They almost never taught us how money actually works. They made us memorize that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, but they never explained why your credit score can move in weird ways even after you pay off debt. They never explained why tax deductions shrink your paycheck so much. They never explained that the money you put in the bank does not just sit there. And most importantly, they never explained this: money is not just for people who are good with numbers. It is a system. Today, we're going to fix that together, but not like a classroom lecture. You're going to see it through 6 levels that run through real life. Money knowledge is not one single thing. First, you start to understand your paycheck, then the bank, then why debt grows, then why inflation quietly eats everything, then whether the system actually trusts you. And finally, you realize this: money is half math, half trust, and the other half is human behavior. Yes, I said 3 halves. Because the money system, as you already know, is not exactly a perfectly logical thing. By the end of this video, you won't be the person who nods along during money conversations while quietly panicking inside. One quick thing before we start: if this video helps you, like it and subscribe. If you've done the 2 clicks, let's begin. Level 1. The first level is the level almost everyone lives through. You work all month. You put in the hours. You have a number in your head. Then payday arrives. And when you open your pay stub, that beautiful gross number is sitting at the top, winking at you. 1 second. Then it starts moving downward. Federal income tax, state tax, Social Security, Medicare, deduction after deduction. And suddenly it feels like disappointment got deposited into your account instead of a paycheck. In the first quarter of 2026, median weekly earnings for full-time workers in the U.S. were $1,235. On paper, that adds up to a little over $64,000 a year. But on the employee side, Social Security tax in 2026 is 6.2%, with a wage cap of $184,500. Add federal and state income taxes and other deductions on top of that, and what you earn is no longer the same thing as what you actually take home. The lesson you should take from level 1 is this: taxes are not just an invisible hand taking money from you. They are also the entry gate to the system. Roads, schools, regulation, Social Security, health systems, state capacity. That bill gets paid from here. What stresses people out most is usually not the existence of taxes. It's paying them without understanding what they're paying for. And the mistake at this level is incredibly common: thinking your gross paycheck is your money. No, your money starts on the net side. The key to moving to the next level is simple: stop falling in love with gross income. Build your life around net income. Read tax deductions not like punishment, but like the cost of the system. If you don't understand your pay stub, you miss the first gate of financial life. So what happens once all your money lands in the bank? That's where it gets even more interesting. Level 2. The bank doesn't just hold your money, it moves it. The second level is where most people get the story wrong. When you put money into the bank, your instinct says, okay, now it's safe. Technically, yes, but that's not where the story ends. That's where it starts. Banks are not waiting rooms for money. They are distribution centers. You deposit money. They put that money to work inside the payment system: lending, liquidity management, and the rest of the balance sheet. That means your money is already part of the wider economic system before you even walk out of the bank. In the United States, standard FDIC deposit insurance still protects up to $250,000 per depositor, per bank, per account category. So the real point is not that the bank keeps your money locked in a vault. The point is that it gives you a specific insurance framework while rotating that money through the system. So how does a bank make money? The answer is surprisingly simple. It gathers money from you at a lower cost. It gives that money to someone else at a higher return. And it lives on the spread. That's it. If you think the bank is a caretaker, you're mistaken. The bank is not a caretaker. It is an intermediary. That's not automatically a bad thing. But if you don't understand it, you make this mistake. You confuse liquidity with safety. Just because your card still works does not mean the system will serve you under every condition. Everyone remembers that in moments like 2008 or during panic periods. To move to the next level, separate the money sitting in the bank from the safety that is actually yours. Daily cash, an emergency fund, and long-term investing are not the same thing. Use the bank, but don't dump all your psychological sense of safety into it. And while the system keeps your money moving, what is the fastest thing that crushes you? Interest. Level 3. The third level may be the most dangerous level of all, because this is where math works invisibly. You borrow $1,000 from someone, then they tell you to pay back $1,280. Why? Because money has a rental cost. That cost is called interest. So far, so good. But the real issue is not interest by itself. It's the direction of compound interest. Is it working for you or against you? According to the 2025 CFPB credit card report, the average APR on general-purpose credit cards reached 25.2% in 2024, while store cards reached 31.3%. Newly opened general-purpose accounts were averaging around 27.5%. In other words, by 2026, the idea that 20% credit card interest is high but normal is already an outdated kind of optimism for many cards. That random $12 thing you bought with a credit card? The longer you delay paying it off, the more it turns into a financial character test. But the same system has a bright side too. If interest is working against you, debt grows. If it's working for you, capital grows. So compound interest can be a devil or a partner. The lesson you need from level 3 is this. Interest is never neutral. It picks a side. You are either on the side paying interest or on the side earning it. There is no middle ground. To move to the next level, kill high-interest debt first, then pull compound returns onto your side. Speed kills when you're in debt. Time gives birth when you're investing. But what happens when you're trying to pay off debt, and at the same time the value of the money in your pocket is shrinking? That's where level 4 begins. Level 4. At the fourth level, the enemy is invisible. Nobody steals money from you directly. But when you go to the grocery store, the same basket costs more. The same bag of chips is smaller. The same paycheck buys less. Then someone shows up and tells you, "That's normal." Yes, to some extent it is. The Federal Reserve continues to target 2% inflation over the long term, and in its March 2026 meeting, it kept that target while also saying uncertainty in the economic outlook remained high. In other words, the system sees ideal inflation as low and controlled. But under 2026 conditions, people still feel price pressure and shrinking purchasing power in everyday life. During the same period, average household spending, based on 2024 data, was $78,535 per year, or roughly $6,545 per month, with housing and transportation alone eating up more than half of total spending. That's why inflation is not an academic concept. It's a kitchen concept, a rent concept, a gas station concept, a "how is this more expensive again" concept. And the mistake at this level is this: thinking cash is safety. No. Cash gives comfort in the short term. In the long term, it erodes purchasing power. A little inflation may be healthy for the system, but for your money, it's a rusty knife. The key to moving up from here: don't just hold money, protect purchasing power. This is where growing income, saving efficiently, and owning productive assets starts to matter. Otherwise, you work, you save, and you still end up buying less from the same shelf. So does the system only change prices? No. It also gives you a score that reflects how trustworthy you are. Level 5. The fifth level is a little absurd, which is exactly why it's so real. Because here, the system is saying, I'm not looking at how much money you have. I'm looking at how predictable you are. That is what a credit score really is. It works like an adult report card, but instead of a teacher, a bank is grading you. And the result of a bad grade is not failing a class. It's living a more expensive life. According to Experian, the average FICO score in the US fell to 713 in 2025. That still counts as being in the good credit range. So the average borrower is not completely falling apart. But in the eyes of the system, being acceptable and being strong are still not the same thing. You should not fall into this trap. If I'm debt-free, I'm fine. That is not always true, because a credit score does not only look at whether you have debt, it looks at how you behave with debt. Did you pay on time? How much of your card limit did you use? How old are your accounts? Did you build a financial pattern over time, or did you live chaotically? A credit score is a little like a neglected pet. If you don't pay attention to it, it will sabotage your life in places you didn't expect. A credit score is not wealth. But at some of the doors that lead toward wealth, it is the ticket inspector. The key to moving up from here: treat your payment history like sacred ground, then lower your utilization rate. Don't kill old accounts for no reason. Don't use your credit score for ego. So what is the deeper mechanism underneath all of this? Money itself. And that is where the final level begins. Level 6. Money is a shared story built on trust. The last level is the strangest one, because this is where a person realizes money is not as physical as you think it is. A piece of paper, a number on a screen, a record in a bank, code in crypto. But they all share the same engine. A large enough group of people believes it carries value. That can feel disturbing, but it can also be freeing, because the money system contains as much psychology as math. Inflation grows through expectations. Banks live on trust. A recession deepens when trust breaks. Spending expands with hope and contracts with fear. A recession is not just 2 quarters of decline. It is the atmosphere changing inside the house. It is people switching into, let's only buy what we absolutely need this month, mode. It is companies cutting hiring, and suddenly, everyone remembers that cash is actually limited. Money is not just a knowledge game. It is a behavior game. And the thing that makes the final difference here is not a PhD. It's a beginning. Understanding your taxes. Understanding what a bank really is. Understanding that interest picks sides. Understanding that inflation works quietly. Understanding that your credit score opens and closes doors. And finally, understanding that money itself is built on trust, time, and behavior. That's when, at the next family dinner, when someone says compound interest, you won't just nod along. You'll actually know what they mean. And more importantly, you'll know what game you're playing in your own life. Today, we didn't just talk about a few concepts. We talked about the operating system of adult life. Knowing these things will not make you rich overnight, but it will stop you from walking blind inside a system you never really understood. And that is a much bigger beginning than most people realize. Because in the money game, the first advantage is not a high IQ. It's clarity. Now go. At the next family dinner, pretend a little less. Understand a little more.